what time exactly did Jesus Campos sustain, the injury? What was the timeline?
Bear with me while I get that for you. Well, it's fairly simple for me to obtain. What was the question, ma'am?
Can I also ask, in the days...
What was the original question?
What time he had sustained the injury?
21:59. That would be 9:59.
Can you check if the gunman was practicing shooting before the incident?
No, I can't confirm that.
Sheriff, are you saying that the security guard was injured, Campos was injured at before 10 p.m. the shots were then fired at 10 p.m. to the crowd? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I don't know where you're getting your numbers, but you are correct. He was injured prior to the mass volley of shooting.
So to follow that, he's shot at just about 10 o'clock. The shots into the crowd begin at 10:05 and go on for, we said at one point 11 minutes, but 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
So can you give us what you think?
Okay, I don't want to get in. I appreciate what you're saying, Ken.
Receipts that have been obtained from the valet security system.
Ma'am, that's not how we conduct this service, okay? If I'm presented with a question,
Because the FBI has reported
that's not how I conduct press conferences,
Well,
ma'am.
has the official timeline changed? Because
Please stop asking your question. There's a decorum that we have here, and I will finish Mr. Ritter's question.
Thank you. So if Officer Campos or security guard Campos was shot at just before 10 o'clock, and the shots out the window, as you described them, there were two about...
So let me help you with that, Ken, because you picked up on it. Yes, the timeline associated with the original shot and Mr. Campos has changed through investigation, as I have conveyed to you from the very beginning. And your zest for information and my zest to ensure the public safety and the calming of their minds is some things are going to change. Now, they are minute changes. Okay, there's not this all-encompassing answer associated with the information that we presented before. In other words, it's not completely inaccurate. But what we have learned is Mr. Campos was encountered by the suspect prior to his shooting to the outside world.
Good morning, everybody. This is Scott Creighton from American Everyman. It is October the 10th, 2017, a bright and early 5:32 a.m., as you can see in the little bottom corner there. We have a major change to the timeline, the official timeline. A major change that is contradicting other parts of the timeline, not only other versions of the timeline, but other parts of the current timeline, the new revised timeline. And it begs a question, a very important question. It makes the entire story of what happened October 1st at the Mandalay Bay Hotel in Las Vegas. It makes the story, the official story, completely, even more ridiculous than it already was. Now, we've all heard various recordings taken by people who were on the scene, victims, law enforcement. In some cases, we've seen the body cam video of those officers next to the wall who said, who believed that multiple shooters had them pinned down. You could clearly hear that there were more than one weapon being fired simultaneously. Of course, there's reports that there was gunfire from multiple locations in Vegas at the time, and it's interesting. Something that the sheriff there said. I forget his name. What is his name? This guy, he gave a press briefing yesterday, Lombardo, and I did a video previously on him and this guy. You know, remember what I said during that video, that this guy this FBI guy was just hanging over his left shoulder and staring at him and making sure he said the right things. Well, he was there was another press conference which this man's assistant gave the press conference. I guess Lombardo had taken a nap or something, and there he was again, standing there, right there, making sure that he can still be seen right off to the in the guy's peripheral vision, and just lording over him with that look on his face. I talked about that in the first press conference he gave. There was a second press conference given by his, I don't want to say underling, but second in command, I suppose, in which he did the same thing. And now here he goes again. You know, I just want to say this real quick before we get into this. The FBI has a long established history of controlling the narrative by doing these quote-unquote interviews with witnesses and victims. And as we've all heard time and time again, the FBI is not there to evaluate what the witnesses saw. They are there to tell them what they saw. And probably the best example of that is what happened with all the witnesses from TWA Flight 800. That is probably the best example that I can think of to give you. But moving along, we'll talk about that in a second, and we'll talk about the very interesting thing. I think he gives us clues, which is what pisses this guy off and why he feels like he needs to sit there and lord over him. But I think this guy, Lombardo, I think he kind of gives us clues. Because it seems to me that he's just sick of this whole thing. Well, now the story has changed, and I'm going to talk about his clue in 1 second. I hope I don't forget it. But let me get into this real quick. The story has changed, as you can see once again. Now they're saying Jesus Campos is the security guard who supposedly went up there to respond to, according to the first version, to respond to the shooting and discovered what was going on the 32nd floor, and was subsequently shot through the door by said suspect, Patsy, however you want to say it. And of course, the police had to lay back and wait. Because of that shooting, the police had to lay back and wait for an additional hour or whatever it was for SWAT to get there. And approach the door and demo the door and find the suspect, Patsy, dead, right? That was the official story. Well, that's no longer the official story. And the official story is even more unbelievably bizarre than you can possibly imagine. Let's get into why. I'm going to read this from you. This is from Heavy. I'll provide links down below. Las Vegas shooter Stephen Paddock shot Mandalay Bay security guard Jesus Campos 6 minutes before opening fire on the Route 91 Harvest Concert Festival last Sunday, killing 58 people and wounding nearly 500 others, Sheriff Joe Lombardo said Monday, changing the timeline of events. Lombardo and other authorities had previously said Campos was shot after the gunfire began, but Lombardo now says Paddock fired at Campos, who was unarmed, from inside his room on the 32nd floor of the hotel at 9:59 p.m. Lombardo said that Paddock unloaded more than 200 rounds into the hallway, and Campos was wounded by a ricocheting bullet. Paddock then began the shooting at the concert festival at 10:05 p.m. But police did not get to the 32nd floor until 10:17 p.m. I'm going to end the quote right there. What's wrong with that story, folks? There's a lot wrong with it. First of all, it directly contradicts a number of their timelines. They've given out two that I know that they have made major revisions in. First of all, the first one was the first 911 call that came in at 10:08, and that was when the shooting began. Now they say that was 3 minutes late. Why it takes 3 minutes, again, in my previous video, I said go ahead and just stop the video here and time yourself for 3 minutes and see just how long 3 minutes is. It didn't take 3 minutes for the first 911 call to come in. Okay, that's the first thing. That's a fact. So now we're looking at, let's go back. Here's heavy again. So now they're saying around 9:59. It happened around, he started shooting around 9:59 or at 9:59. The other one said around 9:59. Let's just say 9 minutes. Not 7, not 5 minutes, not 4 minutes, not 9, not 6 minutes. Not 6 minutes, 9 minutes. 9 minutes, supposedly, from when somebody fires through their door in a hotel, a nice hotel, right? Supposedly unleashes a barrage of 200 rounds down the hallway at 9:59. 200 rounds down the hallway. And the police don't get to the scene, don't get to the 32nd floor until 10:17, a full 18 minutes later. Right? How does that make any sense at all? Not only that, but let's go back to the original discussions here. I forget which version is which. Well, this is the first version, and again, I'll post a link to it. Let's go back and read the first version from USA Today, obviously. This is released on October the 3rd. Some officers took it upon themselves to immediately go to the Mandalay Bay. And that's because there is a report that's actually listed here in this timeline where someone said it looked like flashes coming from the middle of the Mandalay Bay. Not on the end, but the middle. So that's one of the reasons they went to the Mandalay Bay. Some officers took it upon themselves to immediately go to the Mandalay Bay. There was a team of 6 officers that approached security. They went up the elevators after discussing the situation and obtaining intelligence. They checked each floor until they located where they believed to be the room. Subsequently, they approached the room, received gunfire, backed off, and SWAT responded. Now that's important. Why is that important? That's at about what, 10:14? Yeah, 10:14. So we already know they spoke to security, right? Let's go back. Let's go back to the heavy article. Well, let's go to the this is the interesting part of the story I wanted to tell you about his conference. But give me a second. Okay, it's in here someplace. The point I'm trying to make is after he received the gunfire, after he was shot, supposedly, what did Campos do? Campos immediately made contact with the dispatcher. He contacted security, obviously. I don't know exactly where it says that in here. In one of these, I'm sure if you stop it, in one of these 3 articles that I was reading, it said that he contacted security immediately after he was shot. Well, that's a long time before 6 officers approached security downstairs and went looking and checked different floors. Why would they need to check different floors at 10:14? If Campos, according to the new version, was shot 15 minutes prior to that, after somebody unleashed 200 rounds down the hallway of a fucking hotel, and contacted security and told them what had happened, They already knew he was on the 32nd floor. They already knew somebody had unleashed 200 rounds down the hallway of their high-dollar Mandalay Bay hotel on the 32nd floor. They knew exactly where he was, especially by 10:14 when somebody broke out the windows, and there may or may not have been sensors on those windows. But especially after somebody broke out the windows on that floor and started shooting people outside. And apparently, a fuel tank at an airport is now the story as well. But this is absolutely different. This is absolutely different, and it makes no sense. I wish I could find that thing where it said he contacted security. It's in here someplace. Just read these things. After he was shot, he contacted security. Here, right here. Okay, the sheriff said that Campos had been on the gunman's floor to investigate a door alarm in another room, and that after being wounded, Mr. Campos immediately told casino security officers he had been shot. Immediately. That's at 10 o'clock. According to one version, that's 5 minutes before the shooting started. According to another version, that's 8 minutes before the shooting started. And here we have, at 10:14, 6 officers talking to the people downstairs, and they're like, well, we don't know what floor it's on. Right? They had to go look. They had to go floor to floor and look. You believe that? I don't. Look at the first versions of these things and the second version of these things. This is, I don't know which version this is. This is the new version that he had in, I'll provide a link in this video. He had up on a board, 1024 up on the 32nd floor. Police and SWAT officers, security officers, and security officers are closing in on room 135. An officer calls for SWAT team after the gunman shot through his door and wounded a hotel security guard who accompanied the officers. That's at 1024 he's calling for SWAT. Don't you think somebody would have called for SWAT at about 9:59 after the security guard, who was just shot in the leg, informed them someone just unloaded a clip of 200 rounds down the hallway in their hospital, in their hotel? Don't you think maybe somebody could have called SWAT then? Security officer tells the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department officers he was shot and gives them the exact location of the room. That's at 10:18. With this new version, they are hoping that we forget all of this. That we forget all of this. This is that at 1024. Now officers begin gathering on the 32nd floor. I want to go really briefly to this New York Times article at the bottom of this New York Times article, which I thought was just simply fascinating. And it will do a lot to explain that guy's look. Quote, Sheriff Lombardo also said Monday that evidence, including damaged fuel tanks, suggested Mr. Paddock may have been planning to flee. Explosive materials were also found in his car. Mr. Paddock might have believed that the chaos caused by this shooting would have enabled the first responders to be directing their attention in other locations, which would have enabled Mr. Paddock to simply leave the hotel. Let me say that again. Mr. Paddock might have believed that the chaos caused by the shooting would have enabled the first responders to be directing their attention in other locations, which would enable Mr. Paddock to simply leave the hotel. Sheriff Lombardo said. Mass chaos, shootings at other hotels, shooting out, hoping that they would detonate a fuel tank someplace in the airport. Shooting coming from the Luxor, shooting coming from Mandalay Bay, shooting coming probably from multiple floors in the Mandalay Bay. Multiple shooters, multiple guns firing simultaneously. And Sheriff Lombardo is smart enough and acute enough to say, you know what, a lot of this was probably done as distraction to get things separated and to cause chaos. So the shooter, or shooters, could simply walk out the door, walk down the hall, walk into the chaos, and disappear into the crowd. Here's a good, solid question. Why have they changed the story, the official story? Why is there now a 200-round burst of gunfire at 9:59 and nobody called the police? Where is the 911 call from security to the police department at 9:59 or 10 o'clock, saying my security officer was just shot in the leg by somebody shooting through his door on the 32nd floor of our hotel? Get over here with SWAT now. Why are they still looking floor to floor 15, 16, 17 minutes later? Why are they still wondering where the shooting's coming from? Why isn't SWAT already en route to the 32nd floor by time the guy opens fire out the window? 6 minutes later, according to one version, 8 minutes, 9 minutes later, according to another version. I live in a bad section of town. Not a bad section of town. My neighborhood's okay. But it's not a gated community. But I guarantee if I opened fire out the window of it wouldn't take 8 minutes, 9, it wouldn't take 15 minutes. You understand my point. But Lombardo hits on him, and he hints at it. The shooter, or shooters, created a distraction. And that was by design. And of course, 72 minutes according to one version, 90 minutes according to another version, after the shooting stopped, they finally decide to open the door and they find Stephen Paddock dead lying on the floor. You think maybe Lombardo's trying to tell us something here? This new version is complete bunk. It makes no sense whatsoever. The question is, why did he change the story now? Is there a recording someplace? Did somebody leak a security camera video where you can hear gunshots fired at 9:59? Is that recording anywhere? How did they miss that? How did they miss that? How do you miss that in dispatch? When you give the first timeline on October the 3rd, how is that dispatch call? How is that 911 call from the Mandalay Bay Hotel not included in that? How is that even possible? 200 rounds being fired at 9:59, and oh, we just forgot about it for 7 days. 200 fucking rounds. That's hard to miss, folks. When you talk about this event, when you talk about this development, this is just in your face. Totally in your face. We are messing with you. We will do whatever we want. We will get away with whatever we want. We will slaughter people at a concert. We will supposedly kill a bunch of kids in at Sandy Hook. We'll shoot people in theaters. We'll kill people in nightclubs. This is completely in your face. And here's this guy. That look tells you everything you need to know. This new change of the story is remarkable. It is remarkable in the sense that they think they can get away with this. I don't know why they're making the change. They think they can get away with it and no one's going to raise their eyebrows. I heard about it first on CNN this morning and they just read the story and oh well, and they went on. They found it more interesting that Stephen Paddock, in one of his depositions for the thing back in 2013, said that he played $1 million on a night on video poker. That was more interesting than this. How the hell is that possible? How is that even possible? I mean, we're not a civilized country anymore. This is a third world tin pot dictatorship. When they can get away with shit like that. When they can get away with shit like that, and when they can get away with, you can hear multiple fucking rifles being fired simultaneously from different positions. In one video, in the other video, you can hear in the taxi cab video, you can clearly hear they're coming from different positions. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But then again, office fires drop fucking skyscrapers neatly into neat little piles here in the United States. Right? That's the trickle-down effect. That's what 9/11 got us. It is a remarkable development on so many levels. Again, I have to wonder why. They had their little storyline neatly set. At one time, they said the cops was with the guy, he got shot. Another time, they said he was shot right before the cops got there. Now, he was shot nearly 20 minutes before cops hit that floor. And according to the official report, they were still trying to figure out, talking to the security people downstairs, which floor it was. Nearly 20 minutes after the security person got shot in the leg, supposedly, and called security immediately, according to the official report read by that man right there. And nobody asks. Nobody does a follow-up. Remarkable development. I hope you liked the video. If you do, please leave a like, leave a comment down below. I've been reading your comments in the previous videos. Thank you very much for them. A lot of information being shared. It's great seeing this develop. My name is Scott Creighton. I'm from American Everyman. Today is October the 10th. It's now 5:58 a.m. You guys have a good day.